The Chicago Bears are leaving Chicago. I guess now they'll just really be the Bears. They're going to Indiana. The Indiana Bears. That doesn't have quite the ring to it. But look, you know who I blame? A lot of people are blaming the mayor. A lot of people are blaming Brandon Johnson, whatever his name is. I'll tell you who's to blame. You want to blame anybody? It's Barack Obama. That's exactly Obama. Why? Because what happens is people don't. What is happening now? There we go. People don't want to admit that Barack Obama's library is so ugly that the Chicago Bears they didn't want to watch it. They didn't want to look at it anymore. It's here's the news. This just happened moments. So we had a little kerfuffle with the podcast. By the way, this live streaming thing is overrated. I don't know why people like live streaming so much. I've been live streaming for years and it's just more and more of a hassle. I may go back to just pre-recording the podcast and uploading it like normal people. You know, normal people, what they like, Joe Rogan, the #1 podcaster in the world, he doesn't do anything live. He goes out, he gets some bourbon, gets stoned, goes into his little studio, records like a 3-hour show and then hands it off to somebody and they upload it whenever. I remember Donald Trump went in there for 3 hours to talk to Joe Rogan and everyone was like, wait, we're like waiting. We're like, where is it? Where is it? And Joe Rogan's like, sorry guys, it's a 3-hour. It's going to take a bit. I'm going to go back to doing that because this live streaming is just, there's camera issues. And especially when you're like a one-man show, it's much easier to control when it doesn't matter. Like if you're listening to the podcast, it doesn't matter at all to you. Nothing's going to change. The podcast is the podcast, but the live streaming is going to be, we may have to go back to pre-recording because it's just too much it just gets too intrusive. You're sitting there, you're watching a live stream, all of a sudden it goes black. Anyway, we've had some issues this week, but we're clearing them all up. Not as many issues, by the way, as the mayor of Chicago, who lost a 100-year-old football franchise to the neighboring state.
State House Speaker Todd Houston announced that the Chicago Bears have agreed to relocate to the new stadium to Hammond, Indiana. Houston made that announcement moments ago at the House Ways and Means Committee meeting.
Thank you very much.
And there you have it. The mayor of Hammond and the Speaker of the House, Todd Houston, announcing the Chicago Bears are coming here to Indiana. Next, they're going to move through creating an authority group to oversee the process of building that new stadium.
Yeah, the new stadium, by the way, it's going to be baller. I mean, all these new stadiums, that's how you get an NFL team, right? The NFL team needs a baller stadium, and that's what it's all about, stadium size. It's not about winning record anymore. It's all about how big is your stadium. SoFi, I think right now is the biggest. I'm not really sure. I'm not like a stadium guru. I've only been to like 4 myself. But there's going to be a brand new stadium in Hammond, Indiana. And the reason why is because Barack Hussein Obama built the ugliest tower to himself. Here's what we got. This is the rendering, or one of the renderings. This is the new Chicago Bears Stadium in Hammond, Indiana. And I imagine that they'll still be the Chicago Bears. Like the New York Giants play in New Jersey, but they're still the New York Giants. I think there's a couple of other teams. That play outside of the city that they're actually in, but I don't really know them like right out. The Carolina Panthers play in Carolina. They're not the Charlotte Panthers, but they play, that kind of thing. But look, it's going to be beautiful. They're going to build like this whole town. I don't know how long it's going to take, but all I know is that this is a huge loss for the sanctuary city of Chicago. And rest assured, one of the reasons why they're leaving Chicago is because of its sanctuary status. Chicago is crime-ridden. There's murders. There's gang violence. It's expensive. The rents are abhorrent. The people in charge are just awful. Jabba the Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, just terrible. Remember Donald Trump? Donald Trump said, hey, I'm going to send in the troops. We're going to clean up Chicago. And they're like, oh, no, you're not. And Donald Trump's like, fine, I'll take the troops out of Chicago. People wanted the troops in Chicago. They want Chicago to be an amazing place to live. And the Chicago Bears want a brand new stadium. And they don't want any traffic. They don't want any taxes. And so they're getting one now in Chicago. And the mayor, of course, is very upset.
Is my face straight? Okay. All right, keep a straight face here. The Bears belong in the city of Chicago. The Chicago Bears belong in the city of Chicago, right? And I've said repeatedly that the door is always open for conversations, Kevin Warren did call me yesterday. We didn't get a chance to connect, and I still firmly believe that their best position is in Chicago, and it's evidence the evidence is clearly speaking for itself.
Now, the evidence is actually not speaking for itself. The evidence is the Chicago Bears, the organization, the city of Hammond have all decided, we're all better off over there. Lots of room. It's cheaper. They're not going to tax us out the wazoo. We're going to have a brand new stadium. It's safer. It's going to be amazing. I mean, again, look at the renderings. The renderings is, who wouldn't want to go watch a football game there? I mean, I would go. Oh, this is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful, there's green grass and everything else. It's not Soldier Field or wherever they happen to be. I don't even know where they play now, but that's again, this is DEI and this is woke policies and this is sanctuary blue city policies. Indiana is a red state. I mean, Indiana is a red state. It's a red state. They've got a red legislature. They got a red governor. They got red as can be representatives and red as can be senators. It's a state that voted for President Donald Trump. Illinois is about one of the bluest and most woke states there is. Their sanctuary status as a state, the city in Chicago, have basically destroyed the place. And now, I mean, losing the Chicago Bears is huge. That's probably billions and billions of dollars over the next 10 years that the city of Chicago will lose in revenue. I mean, think about it. Think about all the downtown businesses that are fueled by Chicago Bears fans. Think about all the pizza, deep dish pizza places around the Bears stadium, around Soldier Field that are just going to dry up now. And think about all the bail bondsmen that aren't going to be bailing out drunken Chicago Bears fans after they lose to the Green Bay Packers or something. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of industry loss and a lot of money lost by the city of Chicago because the Bears are leaving. And again, it doesn't matter to me. I don't go to football games. I just watch them on TV. From time to time, but it is a big deal, especially, you know why? You know why it's a big deal for Brandon, what's his name? Because it's Black History Month. And now you have the black mayor of Chicago losing a football team with a black quarterback to one of the whitest states in the union. Indiana. Anyway, listen, hey, thanks so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe to this show. Make sure wherever you're watching, whether you're watching live for what could be one of the last times we're live, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, wherever if you're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify is a big one, iHeart, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, just make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the ding-a-ling too, because we want to make sure that you get notified whenever we go live. Speaking of Black History Month, this whole thing with Donald Trump and this racist question yesterday, we caught the tail end of the press briefing where Caroline Leavitt was asked one of the dumbest questions anyone has ever been asked ever. Not just in the press briefing. This isn't just one of the dumbest questions ever asked in the press briefing, but it's one of the dumbest questions ever asked ever. And we played it this morning on the 47 Daily podcast, which you can find at www.the47daily.com. But I want to play it for you again because it gets funnier every time I hear it.
The president said, despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats all, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right?
I mean, how do you respond any other way? But you're kidding, right? You're kidding, right? Where or when has the president ever been called a racist? Where or when does the president believe he's been called a racist? I mean, where or when hasn't he been called a racist? He's been called a racist pretty much everywhere. I immediately, as soon as he asked this question, I thought to myself of 4 different instances that I knew of, but Caroline Leavitt had it covered.
I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to...
By the way, I just want to point out to listen to the rest of the press briefing room laugh. Like, they know how ridiculous. This is Ed O'Keefe. Ed O'Keefe is from CBS News, and we all know about CBS News. But Ed O'Keefe asked this question, and the rest of the room just... I mean, this is a small room of press people, and you can hear the laughter because they know how ridiculous this question is.
You're kidding, right? I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And I'm sure there's many people in this room and on network television across the country who have accused him of the same. In fact, I know that because I've seen it with my own eyes. And the president very much looks forward to having an event later this afternoon at 3 p.m. to celebrate Black History Month and to talk about how his policies are advancing opportunity and prosperity for all Americans through record tax cuts through the Trump accounts that all Americans can access regardless of race. These are a great thing for the next generation of Americans. The president has also awarded hundreds of millions of dollars in additional funding to strengthen educational outcomes at historically black colleges and universities across the country. Again, the president is protecting the hard-earned benefits of the 2.4 million black veterans who honorably served in our nation's armed forces by reducing the backlog of veterans waiting for their VA benefits and for their home loans through the Department of Veterans Affairs. So there is a lot this president has done for all Americans regardless of race, and he has absolutely been falsely called and smeared as a racist, and I'm happy to provide you those receipts, and we gladly will right after this briefing.
Yeah, and they did not disappoint. Of course, the first one I thought of was the first one they posted, and this was Don Lemon. I remember watching this live and thinking to myself, well, this is CNN has lost whatever shred of credibility they had left. This is Don Lemon literally starting his broadcast by calling Donald Trump racist.
This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. The President of the United States is racist.
There you go. I mean, what more? What more do you need? Don't worry, there's more. Here's AOC calling. Wait, I have it right here. Here is AOC calling President Donald Trump a racist. I have it. I had it here just a moment ago. And this is from the White House. By the way, there's like 1,000 of these, right? There's like they did 1,000 of these. They went in and they found, Elizabeth Warren. They found, I'm not going to list them all here because like I said, it was all in the morning, 47 Daily Podcast, but here it is right here.
So when you run for president,
nope, that's not it. That's the old clip. But anyway, like I said, you can go back and you can watch it on the White House feed because they had every single one of them listed, and it didn't just stop with past experience. Today, during Black History Month, Sunny Hostin or whatever her name is, she went on The View, and she again accused President Donald Trump of being a racist. This is right after Savannah Chrisley, who is, again, I don't know, she's one of the nicest people. I've met her a few times at TPUSA. Our paths crossed. I tried to get her on the show. It didn't work. Her parents were in prison, remember, because, whatever, tax something. She got him out. She busted him out. Donald Trump helped. And now they're starting a new show, that when you're the Chrisleys, that's what you do. When you're the Chrisleys, what do you know? What does Chrisley know best? How to make reality TV shows. So that's what they're doing. They built a hotel or something and they're taking over. And I don't know. They got some deal. But Savannah Chrisley is filling in for Alyssa Farah Griffin on The View. And I guess they feel like she is conservative enough to fill in for Alyssa Farah Griffin, but new enough where they can just trample all over her. And poor Savannah Chrisley, I like her. I think she's an amazing person, but I don't know why she would want to go fill in on The View. But here she is talking about how President Donald Trump is not a racist because he hosted a huge Black History Day thing yesterday.
So, happy Black History Month, happy Black History Year, and happy Black History Century. Thank you all.
There you go. That's Donald Trump. He's hosting all these African-American folks at the White House. He's saying, happy Black History Month, happy Black History Century, happy Black History Eon, whatever it is. He had everybody. Alicia Free, who's in charge of all of his, she's like the pardon attorney in charge of all his pardons. She was there. She was talking to the news. She was talking about how great it was.
There were so many Black Americans there who were excited to be there. The message that we are sending America is that we know that our president is for Black America. Sometimes individuals have selective memory where they forget all of the things that he's done for us. So that yesterday was a celebration not only of Black History Month, that was our 100th Black History Month celebration. And every person in that room the energy was electric there.
It was electric. Boogie, woogie, woogie. They almost started doing the electric slide. That's how electric it was. In fact, Donald Trump also talked about, you know what he talked about? He talked about Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who just passed away the other day. And he said, we got to take a moment. I got to talk about Jesse Jackson. He was an incredible guy.
I want to begin by expressing our sadness at the passing of a person who I knew very well. Jesse was a piece of work, I want to tell you. He was a piece of work, but he was a good man. He was a real hero, and I just want to pay my highest respects to Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's a good man. He was actually, as you got to know him, he got better and better all the time. A lot of people, you get to know him, they get worse and worse. Jesse got better and better. But I knew him well long before becoming president, and he really was special with lots of personality, grit, and street smarts. You would say Jesse had serious street smarts, right? A very important ingredient to life, I will tell you. He was gregarious and someone who truly loved people and a force of nature. He was somebody that we're going to greatly miss. And on behalf of everyone here today, I know you join me in sending our condolences to the entire family.
Man, I'll tell you what, that sounds like a racist, doesn't it? Don Lemon and AOC and everybody calling it. That sounds like there's a racist standing in front of a group of black people that he invited into his own home, praising another black man, Jesse Jackson, on his and wishing his family the best and condolences. Oh yeah. Also, he went over all of the things he's done for black people in the United States of America, including funding historically black colleges and universities. He brought up small business owners who were black and who were thanking him and praising God and hugging him and saying, because of no tax on tips, I was able to hire more employees. Because of school choice, I was able to get my kids out of drug-riddled schools and put them into good schools where now they're thriving. Thank you, President Donald Trump, for doing all of these things that don't just help black Americans, but all Americans. And then Donald Trump goes on to say, happy Black History Millennium. And Savannah Chrisley gets flack from Sunny Hostile when she says Donald Trump is not a racist.
When it comes to the event that happened yesterday, what's so hard for me to witness is people stating that the president is a racist, because I've seen him firsthand. He saved one of my best friend's lives, a black woman who has been with him for 18 years. So he has a black friend. He's a racist. No, he saved her life. No. He did. Okay. He's a racist.
Here's the problem, Savannah, and why we have a different take on it. Many of us have a different take on it, because when you target DEI programs with executive office, with executive orders, your first week in office.
By the way, Whoopi Goldberg has no idea what she's saying. She's pulling an AOC in Munich.
That the policies of office with executive orders, your first week in office, arguing that the policies undermine national unity. You know, when you shared racist posts about the Obamas.
Okay, hold on one second. Let's just back up for 1 second, because first of all, getting rid of DEI programs is not racist. They did not unify the country. They divided the country. He said this is not national unity. When you have DEI programs across the country and on college campuses and in the military, it not only makes us weaker, but it makes us, DEI is racist. We've had this conversation a bajillion times. When you segregate people by race, that's racist. DEI programs promote that, and they do not unify, they divide. That's something that Whoopi Goldberg doesn't understand. But that's okay. Also, the other thing she mentioned, the Barack Obama video, which Donald Trump said, look, that was a mistake. I didn't post that. Somebody else posted it. It was a video about, which they don't want you to know. It was a video about voter, fraud. It was a video about the voting machines that Donald Trump thought was interesting. And in the middle of it, there was that little clip of the Obamas from the Lion King video that somebody made. And that story's been beaten to death, but they're trying to create that as Donald Trump being racist against the Obamas. So it doesn't matter that he celebrated Black History Month. It doesn't matter that he brought his one black friend, as Sunny Hostile says, over. He's still a racist.
When you pursued the death penalty for the exonerated five, after you knew they had been exonerated. These are the reasons that his behavior is so hard. And I don't know whether you know about this, but in the 70s, he was accused of discriminating.
In the 70s. That's how far back we're going. Donald Trump is a racist. How do you know he's a racist? Well, 50 years ago, 50 years ago, in the 70s, when I was like 2? When I was 2 years old, Donald Trump had some apartment buildings in New York, and there was a lawsuit saying he was a racist. So a lawsuit 50 years ago proves that Donald Trump was racist. And oh, by the way, there was no proof of anything that they suggested in the lawsuit. But listen to how they spin this.
Against black tenants because he wouldn't he wouldn't rent to them.
He didn't want
and
them
so
to build.
what
Was that an accusation?
No, that was a
Justice
proven fact.
Department
They took him to court.
No, it's not a proven fact. You don't listen. Taking someone to court does not prove a fact. No, I was a proven fact. They took him to court. Savannah Chrisley, again, I mean, she's brand new. It's her second day. She's doing okay. If she sticks around a lot longer, she needs to get back in there and battle back. Just because you take someone to court does not mean it's a proven fact. They settled out of court. There was no judicial review. There was no verdict or edict coming from the court. They negotiated. And probably Donald Trump's company said, you know what, it's a lot cheaper to just pay people than to, settle these legal fees or face some kind of racist court. Because again, let's face it, it's New York City. They're always going to go against Donald Trump, even back in the 70s, even 50 years. 50 years. How do you know Donald Trump's a racist? Yesterday, he was hosting a bunch of black people for Black History Month, praising Jesse Jackson. Oh yeah, he funded historically black colleges and universities, and all these people are thrilled about school choice and no tax on tips. Yeah, but half a century ago, when we were only celebrating our bicentennial, think about that. 200 years ago, we were celebrating, or 50 years ago when this was going on, we were celebrating our bicentennial. That's how long ago this was. Man, it's just ridiculous. You know what? It just boils. And Sunny Hostin with her stupid all they can do is just scream. Listen, she has no argument. She's just like racist over and over
there
again.
Seems to be no.
Wait, where is it? Here it is.
Ability. There seems to see.
No, I don't.
Who?
Hold on. I don't know what happened to that clip. You know what? I need a palate cleanser. Let's watch Pete Hegseth pumping iron. Let's watch Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Let's watch him pump 308. Let's watch him bench press 318 pounds.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
For the detail.
Yeah.
3 plates.
3 plates.
Gone around the spot.
All right. It looks like, I don't know if that's one of his multiple sons, but that's a lot of weight. And keep the butt down, he says.
Don't lift.
Got to keep the butt down.
If I can. Don't lift. I got 1.
Don't lift, he tells his son. Don't spot me.
3.
And he's up.
I got it.
Oh, he's like, I got this. This is no problem. And he's pushing up.
Yeah! There we go!
And he kept the butt down, which you gotta keep that butt down. That's Secretary of War Pete Hegseth bench pressing like 200 pounds, keeping his butt down. That's just cause. That's one for the detail, he said. That's one for the detail. We got there's a lot of random stories going on today. Like I said, I kind of had a plan earlier. Here's what happened. Earlier I had a plan, because I try to plan out the podcast. I try not to just go up by the seat of my pants. And I started planning out the podcast, and we were starting with the story I'm about to do regarding Tucker Carlson, who may or may not have been detained in Israel, may have been a detainee of Israel, may have just been some kind of political stunt, may have been hyperbole. Who even knows? Tucker Carlson in Israel, that's a big deal nowadays. So you never know who to believe, Tucker Carlson or Israel. But there's photos of him outside the airport. There's video of him taking selfies inside the airport. So I'm not really sure who to believe in this situation. But then there was another story I wanted to do. And then what happened is we had camera issues. The camera just died, like right in the middle of the whole broadcast, just died. I had to restart my computer. And the problem is when you restart your computer, it cuts off the entire stream. So I took a little minute and I looked at everything again. We revamped it. And I decided, yeah, you know what? It's just a hodge. We got stuff all over the place. So we'll get to the Tucker Carlson here in just a minute. But there was another thing I wanted to share with you too, because it just made me laugh. Some things just make me laugh. One of them is our buddy Scott Presler. Scott Presler, who single-handedly is trying to save the country from the Democrats by getting everybody to vote for Republicans. He was interviewed by CNN. Listen to this answer he gave to CNN. They asked him one of these like loaded questions, and he was cocked and ready with an answer.
Notice that when you urge people to action,
yes,
you often include the word
peacefully.
Is that to avoid another Jan 6 type incident?
With all due respect, it's to avoid people like you guys saying that I'm anything but.
Yeah, I don't know if that's someone posted that, but I just thought it's a great clip to remember how the fake news works. She goes, "You always say peacefully. Is that is that because of you're trying to avoid another January 6th incident?" He goes, "No, it's because if I don't, you guys are going to say I'm not peaceful." Truly great. JD Vance was at the Board of Peace. By the way, there's a lot going on. I'm telling you, there's so much news. Donald Trump had a Black History event yesterday. We had that dumb question from Ed O'Keefe. Ed O'Neill, totally different guy. Ed O'Neill was Al Bundy. Sorry, we had Ed O'Keefe. And then we go roll right into the Board of Peace meeting today. Donald Trump held his first meeting of the Board of Peace, and everyone showed up, and he gavelled it up to order.
Today is a tremendous honor to welcome you all to the United States Institute of Peace for the inaugural meeting of the Board of Peace. Very important. I believe it's the most consequential board, certainly in terms of power and in terms of prestige. There's never been anything close, because these are the greatest world leaders. Almost everybody's accepted, and the ones that haven't will be. Some are playing a little cute. It doesn't work. You can't play cute with me. But they're playing a little bit. But they're all joining. Everybody. Most of them very immediately. A few that we really don't want because they're trouble. Take care of them. But this is the most prestigious board ever put together. I've seen some great corporate boards. I've seen some great boards, period. It's peanuts compared to this board, because we have virtually everyone is the head of a country other than Johnny, but he's the head of soccer, so that's not so bad, right, Johnny?
Yeah, we got Johnny. What's his name? Johnny, Italian guy. He's the head of FIFA. But JD Vance was there. Everyone was there. JD Vance was there, and Marco Rubio was there, and Jared Kushner was there, and Steve Witkoff was there, and who else? Oh, Mike Waltz was there because he's the UN ambassador, and JD Vance said some very nice things about the country being represented.
I have three very brief messages. First of all, to the President of the United States, but to the entire team, to Marco, to Steve, to Jared in particular, who've done such an incredible job. I think what this Board of Peace represents is a recognition that if you actually have a President of the United States and a team that's committed to diplomacy, it can actually work. When I look at what happened to Israel on October the 7th, all those innocent people who were murdered, the fact that you had all of these hostages, and of course, a terrible war that came from it, I remember thinking to myself, how is it ever going to be possible to get these hostages home safely, to make it possible for the people of Gaza to actually have a reasonable future, but also to ensure that Israel is never attacked again? It turns out the answer was you just needed a president who was committed to the effort and committed to the work, and that's what we had, thankfully, under the leadership of this president. And you got to make peace, but then you have to make the peace stick. And that brings me to my second point. That's what the Board of Peace, I think, is fundamentally about, is making the peace stick. And it's an incredible thing that you guys have all done. So to all of the leaders gather here today who are investing in the future, who are investing in peace, we're grateful to you. We're grateful for your partnership. And in particular, I think to the President of Azerbaijan and the Prime Minister of Armenia, who I just saw last week, thank you all for making it possible and for showing what real leadership can accomplish. When you set aside weapons and killing and destruction and invest in your people and invest in prosperity, it can create great things. So thank you both for what you did. I think it showed great leadership. And finally, to the American people, I think it's important that the American people recognize why we're here today. And the reason that we're here today is, yes, to save lives and yes, to promote peace, but this creates incredible prosperity for the American people. The countries represented here represent trillions of dollars of investment in the United States of America that would not have been possible without this president's leadership and advocacy for peace. The economies here represent millions of American jobs of people who are receiving.
Okay, we get the point. There was a clip. sorry to cut you off. There was a clip where he roasted AOC. That's the one I really want. I thought that was that. Oh, here it is. Here's JD Vance roasting AOC.
President, very much for your leadership, but also for the kind words about me personally. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, but then after the president said that I was so smart and that I didn't want to repeat our congresswoman who froze for 20 seconds over in Munich, now I'm tempted, sir, just to freeze for 20 seconds and just stare at the cameras, and maybe they'll say nice things about me like they do about Congresswoman Cortez.
They won't. Actually, they never will. But that's him. That AOC clip, by the way, that continues to drum up all kinds of virality. And that, I'm not going to say that that's her. I'm not going to say that that's her swift boat moment, because she hasn't even declared that she's running for president yet in 2028 or Senate or anything else. I'm not going to say it's her. Dukakis in the tank. Do you guys remember Dukakis in the tank? Who here is old enough to remember Mike Dukakis in the tank? Mike Dukakis was running for president against George Bush, and then he took the first George Bush, and then he took a picture in a tank with a doofy hat on, and all of a sudden, that was it. Dukakis in the longer. Here it is. This is a great picture. Mike Dukakis was running for president, and then he couldn't run for president anymore after this photo was published because, first of all, he looks like an idiot. He's in a tie. He didn't have any military service under his belt. It says Mike Dukakis on his helmet, and it says it's the inside story of the worst campaign photo op ever. Now, again, I'm not saying that AOC flubbing on the Taiwan question is her Mike Dukakis in the tank moment, but I will say this. That's something that is going to come back and bite her, especially when she gets into the primary. And if she ever becomes a presidential candidate, that is definitely something that she's going to have to answer for. She's going to have to figure out, how do I answer for not speaking up for Taiwan? How do I answer for not even knowing? I mean, you had people you had Ana Navarro trying to explain that not everybody's an expert on foreign policy. Well, you better become one real quick if you want to be president of the United States. Keir Starmer, by the way, CNN, this guy who is not on the board of peace, speaking of which, France is not on the board of peace. Italy is not on the board of peace, but only because Giorgia Meloni claims she needs congressional or constitutional approval. I don't know if that's true or not, but apparently that's like a thing. In Italy, every country is different. So in Italy, you can't just join the board of peace. You have to have congressional approval to join the board of peace or constitutional approval. So she's not on it yet. If anyone in Europe was going to do it, I imagine it's her. She likes Donald Trump and vice versa. But Keir Starmer is not doing it. And Keir Starmer, this guy, by the way, he just signed an edict. I wonder if I have it somewhere. He just signed an edict saying that if the United States of America chooses to invade Iran, which, let's be honest, it looks like we could, he's not going to allow them to use any of their airspace or air bases. If the UK, if there's an Iranian invasion by Donald Trump, or if there's any kind of military activity, the UK is out. They want nothing to do with it. They're not going to help Donald Trump. They're not going to let U.S. airplanes land there, blah, 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 blah. Well, Keir Starmer, fun fact, is one of the most unpopular people in the world. Not just leaders, but people. And I know that because Harry Enton from CNN told me.
These numbers are absolutely atrocious. I mean, you never see numbers like this in the United States of Americans. Britons who like Keir Starmer, look at this. Overall, it's just 1 in 5. It's just 1 in 5. It's 20%. His own party, Labor, he's just at 52% there. I've even seen numbers with satisfaction of him in the teens. This is actually higher than the lowest number. We're talking just about 20%. We always talk about Donald Trump being unpopular in this country, but Donald Trump looks downright like Abraham Lincoln compared to Keir Starmer's numbers at this point.
That's exactly what people in Great Britain think about Keir Starmer. They think 1 in 5 of them think he's doing a good job. Everybody else thinks he's basically an idiot, as do we. And that's what happens when you stifle people's freedom of speech, when you arrest people for their Facebook posts, when you do all this kind of ridiculous stuff. It's kind of like what's going on in New York, where Zohran Mamdani continues to our good buddy Brian Kilmeade was on Fox and Friends today, just going through Zohran Mamdani and all the horrible things he's done in the 5 minutes he's been mayor.
Racial equity, $4.6 million, Commission on Racial Equity, $835,000, Commission on Gender Equity, $260,000 for Department of Education, Chief Diversity Officer, $301,000 for 3 FDNY Civilian Chief Diversity Inclusion Officers. There's a title for you. And $118,000 for an FDNY Chief Diversity Inclusion Officers. Is that necessary stuff? You can't cut that back?
Okay, so this is the budget in New York. So here's what's happening. Zohran Mamdani in the New York City budget's $127 billion. $5.6 million for an Office of Racial Equity. $5.6 million for an Office of Racial Equity. Tell me that's not a slush fund. Tell me the Office of Racial Equity isn't a slush fund for all of your Arab friends and black friends and donors who are looking to get a job, a government job, and make a bunch of money and pension and get free health care off of the city of New York. $5.6 million for the Office of Racial Equity. That's a lot of $1 million. I don't know how many people you need in the Office of Racial Equity, but $5.6 million, that's a lot. Now, this is different. $4.6 million for the Commission on Racial Equity. Huh? $5.6 million for the Office of Racial Equity and $4.6 million for the Commission on Racial Equity. That's over $10 million, almost 11. And I don't even know what the difference is. I don't even know what the difference is between those two. I don't know why that keeps happening either. I'm sorry. This is like the final straw. I'm sick and tired of everything. I don't want to hit any more buttons. Like, I don't want, if I never hit another button again, I'll be fine with it. But where'd that stupid clip go now? See, now, you know what? Now I'm just annoyed again. Here
Racial
we go.
equity.
Here we go. So $5.6 million for the Office of Racial Equity, $4.6 million for the Commission on Racial Equity. That's over $11 million for two things that seem like they're literally the same thing. Two things that seem like they're literally the same thing. And it's just New Yorkers' money going out the door. Then there's $835,000 for the Commission on Gender Equity. Now if I were a gender equity specialist, I would take offense to that. Look at that. You have $11 million for two offices on racial equity, but only not even $1 million for the Commission on Gender Equity. Are you telling me that gender equity is not as important as racial equity? That's, by the way, 100% what they're saying.
Inclusion officers.
Yeah. Then there's $260,000 for Department of Education Chief Diversity Officer, $301,000 for 3 FDNY Civilian Chief Diversity Inclusion Officers, and then $118,000 for an FDNY Chief Diversity Inclusion Officer. That seems like it's the same thing. $301,000 for 3 FDNY. Oh, that's the civilian. So there's $118,000 for a Chief Diversity Inclusion Officer for the FDNY, and then there's civilian positions that garner $100,000 each. $100,000 each. So there you go. There you go. That's what happens. This is why, by the way, and I know it's not Chicago, but this is why the Chicago Bears are leaving Chicago, because this kind of mismanagement and ridiculousness goes on in every blue city and every blue state. This kind of stupidity and waste goes on in every blue city and every blue state, and that's why people are leaving. And it's not just Chicago, New York. Look at Miami Beach. Kevin O'Leary was talking about it yesterday. How Miami Beach is just bustling. It's just bustling because you've got all of these people moving down from New York City to Miami because they just don't want to live in a communist stronghold anymore. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Speaking of not wanting to live in a communist stronghold, all right, I guess we should get to Tucker. Tucker Carlson, here's the thing. Whenever I talk about, there's a couple people in the Republican Party now that will automatically rankle feathers on one side of the aisle. And you can't say anything about any of them without being touted. Like, for example, if I laughed at Tucker Carlson, all of a sudden I'm like pro-Israel. And if I defend Tucker Carlson, all of a sudden I hate Jews. Like and it's not just me, it's anybody. Like you can't we used to just be able to talk about Tucker Carlson. Now you can't, because if I laughed about him or made a joke about him, then all of a sudden I'm pro-Israel. And if I was like, Tucker Carlson's right about this thing, all of a sudden I hate Jews. Candace Owens, same thing. She's become one of those people where you can't really talk about her because people are going to misinterpret whichever way. I kind of hope one day I'm one of those people. I want to be one of those people that people just go, if you talk about Mark Kaye, obviously you hate Jews or you love, bananas or whatever it is. But anyway, Tucker Carlson claims he was detained in the Israeli airport, which is weird because he posted a photo outside the Israeli airport. So it's weird. This is him, and I think his producer, all right. So what happened is Tucker Carlson, he talks about Christians and how poorly they're treated in Israel. He's been not anti-Israel, but he's been anti, I guess you would just say, blindly being pro-Israel. He's tried to tell people we don't just need to support Israel the way we've been supporting them without any kind of audit or any kind of oversight or questioning them. He's also been accused of being a Qatari, spy or whatever, Tucker Carlson. That's what Mark Levin calls him. So he's got all these things. And so Mike Huckabee, who's the special envoy to Israel and father of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who follows Mark Kaye on Instagram now, Mike Huckabee said, you should come to Israel. I want to have a conversation with you. And so Tucker Carlson and his crew, they flew to Israel and they went to go have a conversation with Mike Huckabee. And while they were there, they say that they were detained inside the airport. I'm going to read you this from the New York Post because I trust the New York Post more than anybody. Tucker Carlson claims he was detained in Israeli airport, but ambassador says it was just routine customs check. Tucker Carlson claims he and his staff were detained, but U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee said it was merely a routine customs screening. Carlson, a vocal critic of U.S.-Israeli policy who has been accused of using anti-Semitic language, has traveled to Israel to interview Huckabee, but refused to leave the Ben Gurion airport complex. Men who identified themselves as airport security took our passports, hauled our executive producer into a side room, and then demanded to know what we... Oh no, did I just lose my camera? I totally did. I banged on the desk and I lost. See, this is... Yep, this is the... Okay, we're done. I'm just going to call it quits. We're just done. That's it. Anyway, Tucker Carlson claims he was detained outside the airport, but again, or inside... Oh, I'm back. Tucker Carlson claims he was detained inside the airport, but then there's a photo of him outside the airport. And I guess just being right outside the airport, I guess still could mean you're not allowed to go into the country. But there's been some confusion about it. He says it was bizarre. We're now out of the country. Huckabee rejected Carlson's claims and wrote that everyone who comes in and out of Israel has passports checked and is routinely asked security questions. I assume more so if you hate Jews. the way Tucker Carlson hates Jews, so of course they're gonna detain. Yes, everybody gets questioned, everybody gets detained, but you get extra questions and you get extra detainment if you hate Jews. The way Tucker Carlson does. Also, by the way, there's this video of him taking a selfie with, I guess, one of the guys who supposedly detained him. And so that leads to us wondering again, it's like, hey, can we take a selfie? So here's Tucker Carlson posing with, I guess, one of the guys detaining him at the airport. And that again leads people to believe, how serious was this? Are you just making this? Are you making a mountain out of a molehill? Are you making this into a bigger thing than it actually is? Because some people believe that it is. Listen, all right. Before anything else breaks, I'm going to wrap this up because, like I said, we are riddled with technical difficulties this week. And I don't know what's going on. So before I do, listen, make sure you subscribe to this channel and this podcast. Make sure if you're on Apple iTunes or Spotify or wherever you happen to be, I want to make sure that you get this every single day because we're going to be bringing you the news every single day. We're going to be letting you know who's coming after you every single day. We're going to give you the information and the entertainment and the enlightenment and the inspiration you need to keep fighting. To keep fighting every single day so we can save the Republic.